Welcome to the Ultimate Sparky Rage Guide. In this video, we will be looking at the overall feel and the playstyle of the deck. Mind you, this also applies to its all common variants, which includes changing things such as a tank killer, the air unit, and the ranger in there. Some matchups may become easier due to changes in the certain parts of the deck. However, most general rules of the matchups would still apply technically. This video is meant to fortify the knowledge of people who already play Sparky. If you want a full-length beginner's guide, you can always contact me on Discord. Everything will be in the description below. This video took a significant amount of effort to make, but making it was really fun. So I hope you do enjoy it, and let's get right into it. Starting off, we have Graveyard. It's a really easy matchup for Sparky due to the lack of expendable units and our deck's amazing bridge blocking capabilities. Against Splashyard, you want to start pushing for the win in double, even though it enables the Graveyard player to go for offenses. It's better than spamming into something you can't break through and risking their units surviving for a deadly counter push. However, if your opponent decides to give free value by going for Knight and Isis in the same lane, be sure to capitalize on it. Any advantage over Splashyard and you will take the tower, which isn't optimal for a Splashyard player. Be sure to keep some elixir and something to clog the bridge with on hand when beginning a push so that you are able to defend cheap and potentially support both lanes into a death ball that the opponent will never be able to stop. Next up, we have minor wall breakers. No matter how you twist and turn, this matchup will be easy. Sparky is wall capable of dual lane pushing, and it becomes even better when this deck relies heavily on opposite lane punishes. Try surviving until double, then start absolutely toying with your opponent. Keep in mind that if you spam one lane, they can and will defend with the help of the fireball and the bomb tower. What you want to do is have the Goblin Giant Sparky in one lane and a mini push with Dark Prince opposite. Bonus points if you can stop a punishing offense as you do so. Splitting will also allow you to mitigate spell and bomb tower value. It's best to rinse and repeat once you notice an offense is dead instead of spamming mindlessly. Overall, this matchup is incredibly easy. Even good minor wall breaker players will fall at your feet. So enjoy your bullying because we are moving to the 50-50 ballpark. Starting here, we have Egiant. In this matchup, rotation awareness is key. Unlike most other matchups, trading towers is a great idea before sudden death, because Egiant is significantly weaker in two-tower situations. So if you see a push you cannot stop, it's wiser to defend cheap than go for a trade. Another thing you want to do is watch out for the lightning. So if you know your opponent has lightning in hand, don't use things such as Mega Minion or Mini Pekka on the offense. Rather, go for a Dark Prince alongside your Goblin Giant and Sparky. The Inferno Dragon may be hard to break through at times if you do not have the Electro Wizard, but if you go for a Goblin Giant and Mega Minion in a 1-2 punch format and have a zap, you can get some guaranteed damage. Or you could force out an awkward lightning, which is ideal to start a big push. Be sure to time your push as well and times you have a clear elixir advantage, otherwise the control aspect of Egiant will strike you down and the counter push will be lethal. But this is more flexible if you have already traded towers. 2.6 Pig Jockey Shuffle is pretty annoying to face, especially when your opponent knows what they're doing. Your top priority in single is to survive and fix your rotation to be able to split your tank killer and Sparky to counter their hog spam, because a tank killer timed correctly can stop a hog without any damage, and a hovered Sparky will allow you to only receive one hit while preparing an offense, which wastes the hog player's time and helps you get into double quicker. The only real way to win against a good player is to have good predictive zaps and to split your offense well. Many hog players will attempt to double fireball log your push, so that's your cue to split your offense. Since they have a building, it is ideal to raise the center to cover both lanes and potentially fuck up interactions enough to break through. It is also good to know when to let go of your offense. If you see your opponent has two musks on defense, it's probably because you're spamming and not letting go of your pushes. It's an easy mistake to make, and it's the reason why this matchup you see right now is so close. Be sure to support your Sparky with a Dark Prince and Goblin Giant while bringing something for opposite lane. This will discourage your opponent from stalling your Sparky with cycle cards and allows her to get much more value. Modernized 3M is not a deck you see often, but when you do, it's important to know what you're doing. Due to Pump being there, most unexperienced Sparky players will not know what to do and will lose this matchup. Most variants of this deck have no big spells or true reset cards. Against this deck, you want to stay ahead or at equal elixir to your opponent, because if they decide to pump, your one and only objective is to spam the lane they pump as hard as you can, starting from back with the Sparky. They can't punish opposite with any real power, and they can't spell your pushes down. Your only target is to get to the pump. It matters more than the tower does. If you find yourself at a disadvantage and this deck begins getting 3 pumps down, you are as good as dead because you have no big spells either. So go at your opponent's throat as hard as you can, because if you find yourself in a pump uprising, you are in for 5 minutes of pure suffering. And speaking of suffering, hey, this is Golem. Golem's a bitch of a matchup because if you're starting handed, there's no coming back at all. Against this matchup, the key is micro punishes and heavy handed defenses. You don't go offense at all in this matchup unless provoked. You don't play a card unless you're fixing your rotation. Your eyes should be set on one thing, and that is responding to your opponent. If your opponent golems in single, place your Dark Prince 3 tiles behind the bridge opposite lane. This warrants a response and allows the Dark Prince to charge without being stopped. Do not support it. It is simply a means to mitigate their support and to keep the Sparky behind your Princess Tower while it disposes of the Golem. While defending, use as little troops as possible while not letting your tower go to less than a third of its health. Not using any ground units will cause the Night Witch to get splashed by the Sparky, in which you can quickly zap whatever bats remain. If your opponent lightnings your tower, it's okay because it makes the counter push twice as devastating. In double, you do the same thing I said, but you punish with a more heavy hand, threatening your opponent's tower while not letting yours fall in the process. Overall, this matchup has amazing bullshit handing scenarios, and I hate it. But if played correctly, a good player will win every time, handing excluded. Egolem follows the same sentiment as Golem, however there are some differences, such as try not to be the one defending in overtime or when the clock reaches zero. The key here is patience and counter-pushing as hard as you can when edrag is spent. Egolem players have the mental capacity of the average Boom Beach player, so opposite lane pressure is futile. When a no dragon push is initiated, expend the troop towards their push, allowing your Sparky to remain behind the tower while striking the push down. The dragons have to be kited by a goblin giant or disposed of by an air unit such as a mega minion or a minion if available. The Egolem player may spam the E-bars, so key positioning for maximum Sparky Splash is essential. Once your defense is all over and done with, and your tower is still standing, spam the absolute hell out of the bridge unless a big spell is present, which in that case, you will just rinse and repeat everything I said and eventually come out on top. Pigs recruits may seem like a difficult matchup at first, but it's nowhere near impossible once you realize that with a defensive playstyle and card prioritization, you can perfectly counter everything they throw at you. Play defensive and survive until double. Save your princess for the pigs, your Sparky for incoming recruits and zappies, and your Mega Minion for flying machine. You will find this much easier. After defending a push in double, bait out the firewall with your ranger and go all in. If you deploy a tank killer and dark prince, it will break through the recruits if you rage, leading to an easy tower capture. Just remember, 2 tower games aren't ideal with this deck, but are still winnable if you manage to counter push from the king tower lane into the princess via the pocket and your side of the bridge. Now we are at a mirror matchup. This is another one that relies on pure patience. This is a volatile matchup in which the whole tide of the battle can turn within seconds. No sane person will ever Sparky first. They will bait out a Sparky and then reply with one of their own. This increases their chances of winning the bridge battle and allows them to snowball their offense into a 3 crown. Use your air units to support your Sparky at the bridge and take out other rangers, but be sure to be the last person to zap a Sparky when they target each other. Another common tactic is to spam the opposite lane of the Sparky as the clock nears zero. This would guarantee the tower and end the match, but I wouldn't advise you to do this in any other situation. You can also spam if you have Zap in hand and you're 100% sure that it will end the match. It's a game of twists and many 1-2 punches, and only the more experienced player will come out on top. Okay, and here we enter matchups that are genuinely unfunny. Lava Puppy Balon is a really tough matchup. The synergy of lava will stretch your hands thin while you try and maintain an unstoppable punish and a manageable defense. The only way to not get handed is to get specific card rotations where you can at least race or defend. But against lava, please, no matter what you do not go same lane as the hound. Otherwise, they will defend with their spells and air units, and then they will have them counter push behind the hound. And then all you can do is cry. If they lava first play, always start your pushes from the back if you have Sparky, or go for a 1-2 punch on the bridge if you have Goblin Giant or Mega Minion. Fix your hand as soon as possible so that you always have a Prince, Air Unit, and Zap alongside your Sparky and Goblin Giant if they go lava, while still being aware of what spells they have. It is crucial to try and end the game as soon as possible because once lava gets two Princess Towers down, the game is pretty much sealed in their favor. It's a matchup that heavily relies on hand and one requires to play super carefully due to their lack of spells. Be sure to take their hand and spells into account when you try and race. Another really difficult matchup is jackloon freeze featuring edrag. I'm not exactly sure what neuron activation prompted these people to start using electronic dragon, but it has made this matchup much more difficult for Sparky. Every time this deck goes balloon lumberjack, they are guaranteed a hit if they want it, so the key to this match is to punch back twice as hard. You should stack a bit of tower damage while snowballing a massive offense, allowing you to break through their splasher to your defense. Keeping track of the bowler is also a good idea because if the match is in overtime, the opposite lane punish potential is insane. You can go opposite lane with your Dark Prince and tank killers and win with ease if they're down. Another thing we want to watch out for is bridge battles. You do not want to bridge battle against this deck. You will lose every single time because of E-Drag, Bowler, NATO, and Freeze. Save the Zap for the I-Drag and nothing else, and you may just bag a win against this deck. Pekka bridgespam is a challenging matchup, even for a seasoned Sparky player. The key to this one is to strategically sack and kite units into a big push that neither Iwis nor Pekka can stop. Save your Zap to stall Bandit from stopping your Dark Prince or make an Iwis two-shottable by the Mega Minion. Use your Goblin Giant to kite Bandits and Ghosts if they're used to punish. Have something of a conga line of troops instead of a clump. This forces awkward Pekkas and spells which will aid you to actually break through. If clumped, a well-timed Pekka Iwis is good enough to shut down everything behind a giant, while a line of troops benefiting from a rage will guarantee a lot of damage due to Pekka's slow movement speed. Make sure that your Sparky strikes two troops from behind the bridge, all made possible by the awkward line formation, and use your air units or rangers to discourage magic archer sniping if the situation gets close. Bait was an impossible matchup until Mother Witch existed. Try to simply survive and take little damage in single unless the opponent seriously overcommits and you have many healthy counter-pushing units. Big abuse is a must. Blocking the Inferno Tower and split laning is your best option. Don't sack or trade unless it's in double and you know that you'll be taking the tower. The main tactic against Rocket is to place Sparky into a counter-pushing unit 5 tiles below the river. This makes it hard for them to rocket it before it shoots or to clip it alongside the tower, mitigating the rocket value and allowing it to go for pushes that don't have Sparky. Blocking the Inferno Tower with pigs, minions, or Mega Minion is also key. The Zap should be saved for gang on offense or the barrel for defense. And now we are at Xbow. Against Xbow, you want to play super passively. Do not respond to anything besides Xbows and Knights. Archers, spirits, and skeletons and logs should be ignored at all times. There was an old tactic where you would let an Expo lock and then Sparky after that, but that does not work anymore post-nerf. It is a very uphill battle, and not taking any damage in singles should be your top priority. In double, you only start a push where you know your opponent can't punish you at all. Then split your offense to get maximum center rage value. This increases your chances of breaking through. Start an offense if your opponent played a Tesla that immediately died, even if it means taking damage, because you can get into an opposite trade scenario which Xbow can't do anything about. Be sure to mitigate fireball values as much as you can, and play your troops so that only the giant can be targeted by the Tesla. Don't let anything else get sniped. It's a bitchy matchup, and the only real way to win against a good player is to get lucky. It's just the way it is. And now we are at the impossible one look and throw your phone matchup. This fucking deck is extremely disgusting. The only way to win is to begin a mega death push opposite lane as soon as you see a spawner and spam as hard as you can. If you don't succeed, if you don't take the tower, just throw your fucking phone away. Because in double you'll have to deal with 5 buildings and it's just a wall of pure death and despair. It'll just be a waste of 5 minutes, man. If you face it, I'm sorry. I mean, and if you play this deck, reconsider your life choices. Fuck you. And that concludes the video, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed and learned something from this video. If you want to see more full match tutorials or a 12-win classic challenge with this deck, be sure to let me know. Any support is appreciated. Take care of yourself. Goodbye.